Welcome to the Shooting Show. This week we're in southwest Scotland following Chris Dalton on a late season rodeo cull. Plus clay shooting editor Huw Hopkins gets his hands on a British gun with an Italian heritage from William Powell. It's the back end of the rodeo season and Chris Dalton has a cull to complete. With limited time, we have to be out in all weathers. And today is set to be a particular challenge, with high winds that make it difficult to stand up, let alone stalk and film at the same time. But that's not putting off Chris, who takes us to a plantation that needs a young doe taken out before the end of March.
What I'm really trying to do is get tucked into some of the little valleys, which is probably the most likely place for a roe to be. They're a bit like us, they don't like weather like this. Although at the moment it's quite pleasant, but there is some squalls blowing in, real strong wind. Initially we're going to have to go with the wind at our backs, but that's intentional because I want to get right around to the far corner. There's two big glens go through this land. It's 500 acres here and it's privately owned. It's been planted out as a part of a grant scheme. Farmer's sort of semi-retired, and it's really ideal situation for roe. We've got a few reds in here as well, but I mean obviously we're out of season for them, but it'd be just nice if we can see what's going on.
Without further ado, we're off. We've only got a couple of hours before the light starts to fade, so we need to cover ground quickly. Assisting in our task is deer dog Oscar. Last time he featured in one of our films, he stole the show. Can he manage a repeat performance?
There's certainly a roe buck in there. I suspect there'll probably be a female up there not far away from him.
There's no shortage of deer sign, and minutes later we bump our first deer. But it's a pregnant doe and we won't be shooting this one. We wait for a follower, but all we find is another mature doe. Time to move on.
There's another valley on the left hand side with some hardwoods, which we'll start to get the wind right then, and he'll come into his own then, because at the moment he's not been able to use his nose. So once I start to get into a close woodland environment, he knows his game, so I'm kind of watching the dog.
Soon we're on the right side of the wind. Now it's time for Oscar to do his work. And immediately he goes on point.
I can't see what it is at the moment. It's got its head stuffed in a big clump of rushes. I got a perfect wind here. We'll gain a bit of ground and have a good look and see what we've got. I suspect this is not an animal we want to shoot, because with it being on its own, I think we've probably got either a buck or a doe. I'm kind of suspicion that might be a buck actually, but right in a thick tuffet. So we just drop down and we'll just get a bit more ground on it. The wind's perfect.
The crucial final stages of the stalk begin, as Chris slowly tries to get within range, all the while following Oscar's lead. Once again, it's a privilege to see stalker and dog work together so closely. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like this textbook stalk is going to culminate in a shot.
Very easy shot from here at another mature doe. That's the third big doe tonight. Got one 55, 60 yards, fully broadside. I think sometimes when people don't stalk, we have this conversation many times that they can't understand why. That's a perfectly legitimate quarry in season. So why don't we shoot it? But unless I was under massive pressure to reduce deer numbers, and in any event I would have preferred to take the mature does out earlier in the season, then I will leave those deer alone. I will concentrate on just taking the followers. The
followers are the ones that are least likely to survive, although we've got fantastic conditions here, so it's unlikely that even they'll die. But it's a far more humane thing to shoot one of her last year's young than I think to shoot her. She's probably carrying twins. She knows there's something not quite right, but she's not sure. It looks as though she's on her own. I can't see any kid with her.
The high wind has given us away, so with the sun starting to dip below the trees, we head for home. We do come across one more animal on the way back, but it's fox, not deer. It would be a decent consolation to do our bit on the predator control front, but this Charlie stays out of range. So all we can do is hope for better luck on day 2.
Bit of a different night to last night.
Yeah, a lot different tonight. We can actually hear each other and stand up. It's actually a good evening, really. Just got the last hour before it goes dark. So we're just going to walk along this, below these hardwoods. The wind should be right. And just get laid up somewhere. There's a couple of families with their own kids in here, so we'll see if we can get one of the followers tonight. It's going to be cold, but it's a good evening. I mean, if I was a row, I'd be out feeding. But we're just going to walk along the side of the road, keep downwind. We can look up through the hardwoods then, and go to the far boundary and then come back up, and the wind should be blowing over the top of the hill and taking us over there. It can be tricky on these hillsides though, sometimes it swirls around. We had a bit of that yesterday evening. We'll see what we've got when we get over there.
Late afternoon is already turning to evening and time is short, but Chris knows exactly which part of the ground he's headed to. Stalking in and spying constantly with his Swarovski binos, he makes good progress. It's always a balance. Too fast and you might bump deer. Before long, Oscar signals the presence of fauna once more. And once more, it's a mature doe.
She should have some kids somewhere, so we'll just wait and see what she's going to do. Fortunately, she's right at the back of a clump of wild raspberries there, and there's some dead ground behind her, so the kid could be the other side of her. We're going to see if we can get above and see into that dead ground there, because I'm sure she's a doe that's got kids.
We try to get in closer, and unbelievably, we bump another doe on the way.
34 yards away. Another lucky doe. That's the 5th. Again, I can't see a kid, so we'll just slowly drift past. We'll check this open area out, and then we can come back down around the hedge side, see if we can pick anything else up. It will also bring us to above where that first doe was, so if there was anything out of sight of her kids, we should be able to see them. We've probably got another 30 minutes shootable, so we'll move fairly quickly.
With minutes left of shootable light, it's already dim enough to make filming difficult. But Chris is determined to give it one last go, and stalks on through the spruce plantation. On the other side, we finally get what we're looking for. It's a doe with a yearling follower. As soon as we identify the deer as a suitable cull animal, it puts itself on the skyline. But waiting just a few more minutes pays dividends, and soon Chris finds himself with a chance at a decisive shot.
Deer's clearly down. Slightly angled shot, but just let those other deer move out of the way because they're still there. Okay, they're gone now. Just like to let everything settle down for 5 minutes, let the deer completely drift off. I don't like to go straight out to a deer after it's been shot. I mean, clearly it's dead, we can see that from here. We just had to wait initially, as you could see, the deer was completely skylined, so it was definitely not safe. Okay, we'll go and recover this. 243 does its job again.
It's a straightforward walk-in to retrieve the doe, which went down instantly to the well-placed shot. But it does give Chris a chance to keep Oscar in practice and work him into the fallen beast.
Show me, show me.
Then it's time to complete the formalities.
Okay, we'll take this back into the trees and okay, Dad. And we'll do a gralloch.
Yearling doe, good nick, not pregnant, caked in fat, I'm in super condition, as you would expect really, ground like this. That's a nice clean gralloch. So really that could be hung up in the tree in these temperatures for an hour or two just to let it cool down. It's effectively the same as being in the larder. No need to wash that carcass out, it's perfectly clean. So once we've removed the esophagus, we'll take the forelegs off and the head off. We can pop that straight into the roe sack, back to the larder, hang it straight up, it'll never touch the ground again.
We have to switch on the camera's infrared mode as Chris completes the gralloch, but seconds later the job is done. The doe is soon packed into the Apex Predator rail carrier and ready to take back to the pickup, closing the book on 2 days of frustrating but ultimately successful deer stalking. Chris and Oscar finally getting it together there, and now it's the Shooting Show news.
This is the Shooting Show news. Shooting has a new, unexpected ally. It's the RSPB, whose Conservation Director Martin Harper took to the RSPB's blog to praise the work done by some shoots and offered to work with them further. National newspapers said this sparked a row, but apart from anti-shooting pressure groups, everyone appears to agree with Mr Harper. Basque's Simon Clark said he was delighted to hear the RSPB restate its support for shooting, while the Countryside Alliance said it was fully supportive of everything the RSPB tries to achieve, though it sometimes disagreed over process and priorities. The benefits of shooting have been read in the national newspapers. Basque officials have had letters published in the Times and the Telegraph emphasising the conservation benefits of the shooting sports. Chairman Alan Jarrett appeared in the Telegraph to underline the fact that shooters spend £250 million a year on conservation. And Vice Chairman Mike Sherman told the Times that shooters are active conservationists who put in millions of days' worth of work each year. Today is the first day new firearms and shotgun licence fees come into effect. A new firearms certificate now costs £88 and a shotgun licence £79.50. A renewal costs £62 and £49 respectively. This new fee structure was welcomed by ministers and shooting organisations alike, and it's expected to allow police to recoup the full cost of processing a licence once an online licensing system is installed. And finally, Brits secured 2 gold medals at the IPC World Cup in Stoke Mandeville. Stuart Nangle took gold for GB in the men's SH1 air pistol, and Matt Skelhon topped the standings in the mixed prone AH1 air rifle. A successful event saw Britain represented in every final. British Shooting also took the chance to host 2 inclusive tri-target shooting sessions, which saw people of various ages and abilities have a go at shooting for the first time. That was the Shooting Show news.
I'm here at Edge Hill Shooting Ground once again, but today I'm testing the William Powell Perdix. Now, William Powell is a brand with a long history. Back in 1802 it started making guns. These days, however, it hasn't got as much of a hands-on approach to the gun making itself. In 2008, David and Peter Powell sold on the William Powell brand name to a gentleman called Mark Osborne. Now, last year, Peter Powell, he was still with the company, he teamed up with Rosini in Italy. Now, Rosini make good competition shotguns, but this is a game gun suited to the British market. Let's take a look at why. Firstly, its weight. At £7 and 9 ounces. This is not a heavy gun. It's certainly not as heavy as some competition guns that you'll see around about the circuit these days. And because of that, you do get a little more recoil than you would on a clay gun, but it's still not unmanageable. You could carry this round on several drives throughout a long weekend of shooting. Now, at the end here, you have a hard wooden butt plate. Another British specification is the Prince of Wales grip. It adds a sleek look to the gun, and it certainly makes this one look very attractive as well. The stock is made from high-grade walnut, and it blends in well with the rest of the gun and comes up to the face quite nicely. And it's good that they're using high-grade walnut, because this is an aesthetically pleasing gun, and it's designed to be so. Especially when we take a look at the action here. This is some of the most beautiful engraving that I've seen on a gun. On the side plates we have a game scene on either side, ducks on one side, looks like pheasant on the other, and on the bottom we've got some beautiful scroll engraving with the name of the gun, the Perdix. It was designed by Bottega Giovanelli in Italy, but it features no gold plating and no unnecessary flash. The action itself is similar to the Beretta 680 series, where the barrels hinge on two large trunnion pins. Therefore it works well. Now, the barrels are 30 inches long and they feature a 3-inch magnum chamber. Now they pointed out the targets quite well, even with this top quite low rib. It's about 7mm wide, and the gun actually features two side ribs as well. And at the muzzle end, William Powell supply 5 Rosini chokes that you can change on both barrels. And because it's more suited to a game drive, I've been shooting a range of high and crossing targets here today at Edge Hill Shooting Ground. I shot a little better than my average because I found the gun particularly pointable, and it picked out targets quite easily. So if you wanted to impress your friends on a game drive this coming autumn and winter, then this would be a good one to keep in your cabinet. When you do buy one of these for £2,995, you do get a 5-year guarantee from William Powell, and you also get a hard case to go along with it as well. William Powell has a good reputation and 200 years of history behind it. This William Powell Perdix, this is certainly not going to damage that reputation. Does it keep William Powell on that upper tier of British gun makers? Well, no, because it's made by the Italian company Rosini. But it is certainly a gun that will serve you well at the right price.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you're not a member of BASC, it's time to join now. BASC, looking after your sport, looking after you.